Why do you keep getting triggered by the same things and then having to clean up the emotional aftermath instead of finally breaking the cycle? Living in a constant state of repair is exhausting. And somewhere inside you, you already know that frustration, hypervigilance, and overwhelm are not meant to be your baseline. There's a very specific sensation you feel when it happens. The heaviness in your gut, the tightness in your chest, that subtle, uh-oh, your body whispers before your mind catches up. That sensation isn't random. It's your body's intelligence saying, hello, this path doesn't belong to you anymore. What you're actually reaching for is relief from that endless loop of reacting, then replaying it over and over, and then wishing you'd shown up differently. You're reaching for the kind of presence where you don't have to shut down every time something stretches you, where you can meet yourself with openness instead of spiraling into doubt, where the life you're building actually feels like yours and not some version you were conditioned into. And that's what this video is about. If you're new here, hi, I'm Ashley Cassandra. I've been an embodiment coach for over 7 years. I help women dissolve deep-rooted conditioning so their self-worth and emotional composure can support the lives that they actually want. And today we're talking about what happens when you're confronted with an identity check and why how you respond in those moments determines whether you stay stuck or you step into the clarity and ease you've been reaching for. Here's what we're going to cover today. The identity check, how your body signals that an old version of you is ready to be released. The external pivot, why we blame the outside world instead of listening inward. And self-selection, 3 simple steps to choose yourself and finally break the loop. An identity check is one of the most revealing moments you'll experience, even though it rarely feels like it at first. It's the moment your body shows you that an old version of you no longer fits, and it usually doesn't announce itself politely. It often shows up as a reaction that feels way bigger than the situation. Someone doesn't make eye contact, a friend cancels plans, seeing your text message as read but no response. Suddenly your throat closes, your chest tightens, you feel restless, anxious, or like something's wrong, even though logically nothing major happened. That's not you overreacting or showing a character flaw. That's your system saying, it's time to let go. Maybe you have an identity around shutting down. Maybe it's defensiveness. Maybe a fear of being overlooked, excluded, or not quite enough. The regret that comes after, the obvious misalignment, and the clarity that sounds like, this is not how I want to be or react anymore. It doesn't feel right. This isn't me. That discomfort, that's the check. The identity underneath that old belief that is still running the show. And it isn't providing anything useful anymore. So in that moment, you check in with your body saying something's ready to shift. But knowing it's happening and actually listening to it are 2 very different things. But here's what most of us do instead of honoring that moment. We feel the restlessness, the anxiety, the tension in our bodies, and instead of recognizing it as a signal from within, we look outward and blame it on something external. I'm feeling this way because the house isn't cleaned. I'm upset because of what they said to me. I just need to get through this project and then I'll feel better. We make other things the priority, not because they're actually urgent, but because the discomfort in our body feels urgent and we don't know what else to do with it. So we clean the house, we replay the conversation, we busy ourselves with tasks, and we get temporary relief, but the identity stays. And the signal will come back louder until we finally choose to listen. And when this becomes your pattern, when you keep choosing the external fix over the internal truth, you stay in the loop. You keep getting triggered by the same things and having to repair what you said or smooth things over in your relationships because you're operating from an identity that isn't even yours. And over time, your body starts breaking down from carrying purposeless weight. So if that's the cost of ignoring these moments, what's the alternative? What does it actually look like to choose differently? Self-selection is choosing to deal with what's actually happening inside of you when an identity check shows up, instead of making everything else more important. It's saying, this matters more than my comfort or patching things up to seem steady on the outside. And ultimately, you're saying that it's time to give up the coping skills and heal deeply. When you choose to honor that, you create space to stop the loop and step into what you've always been underneath the protection. I know that might sound abstract, so let me break down exactly how to do this when the check presents itself. This is a practice, not perfection. You're building a new reflex. And like any reflex, it gets smoother with repetition. Step 1, recognize the discomfort and excuse yourself. In the moment when you feel triggered, when your body has a disproportionate reaction to something small, don't push through it. Don't ignore it. Excuse yourself. The restroom is like the universal sanctuary for the overstimulated. So it's the easiest way to find a moment of privacy without questions. While you're there, capture the moment of being triggered. Voice record what just happened or journal it quickly. Speak or write out what you're feeling and what triggered it. There's no need to analyze it yet, just get it out. This does two things. It releases the immediate tension in a harmless way, and it captures the emotional charge and the situation that brought it up, so that way you can later work with it. Step 2, reserve time to process it. You don't have to drop everything all at once in that moment, but make a commitment to yourself. Something like, I'm waking up tomorrow an hour earlier to sort this out. And then you put in your calendar if you need to. The point is, you're choosing to make yourself the priority, and you're saying that this moment matters. Step 3 is the identity reset. This is where the actual healing happens. What actually stops the cycle? So you're going to move through 4 practical parts. See it, acknowledge it, release it, and nourish yourself afterward. Now I've created a free companion guide that helps break down each of these parts with the exact questions and prompts, and I'll show you where to get it in just a moment, but let me walk you through what this process looks like so you understand what you're moving toward. First, you're gonna see what's been running the show. And then you'll pivot to a core value that you undeniably identify with. Maybe it's honesty, maybe it's kindness, presence, or courage. Then you'll ask yourself, do I lose sight of this value when I'm triggered? And what shows up instead? When you see the gap between who you want to be and who takes over when you're triggered, you'll see the identity behind the reaction. And underneath that identity is a feeling. So fear, shame, inadequacy, unworthiness. Name it, because it's what you're here to release. Afterward, you acknowledge the fear and what it protected. This feeling has been there for a reason, and it kept you safe somehow. So honor that. And then you'll ask, what am I afraid will happen if I let this go? And then why am I ready to release it now? Then you release it. This is where you let the emotion move through you. Journal without stopping, no rereading, don't edit yourself. Let it pour onto the page. Let it be messy, raw, unfiltered. If tears come, don't hold back. This is the release. Your body knows exactly how to do this. You're just going to give it permission to do so. And finally, you nourish yourself. This happens in 2 ways. Externally, you nourish the situation. If your reaction hurt someone else, acknowledge that that suffering was spread in the moment and offer honesty and an apology. And then internally, you nourish yourself in the most fundamental ways by meeting your basic needs. Rest, hydrate, turn down the noise. Give your nervous system space to recalibrate. After that, bring in upliftment. Watch something that makes you laugh. Listen to music that lifts your spirit. Recharge yourself. You've moved through something heavy, and now you'll balance it out with something light. Lastly, another important thing is to create a simple mantra that reminds you of your commitment to this new way of being. Something like, I have the capacity to feel and heal. Or it could be, I will stand with myself as I continue to grow. Write it down and say it out loud and let it anchor you. The identity reset guide I mentioned has space for all of this. The questions that help you see the identity, prompts that acknowledge the fear, journaling pages for the release, and a section to create a mantra, and a nourishment checklist to guide your aftercare. It's designed to be your companion through the entire process, so you're never left wondering what to do next. You stop living in the loop. The constant repair ends, and you start moving through life with clarity, presence, and the kind of peace that comes from knowing you're living true to who you actually are. That's what self-selection leads to. Download it now and use this protocol with future identity checks as they arise. I'll see you in the next video.